So Peden Bloodstock are an established equine transport company, and we've been around for many years. We're an official partner of the FEI, based in Europe, and we move not only, I'm a bit technology, here we go. Press the right button. We move anything from your mini Shetland pony through to the top class athletes. We specialise in the movement of logistics of top level competition horses and also the back of house logistics providers. We work with the Olympics, World Games and Asian Games for, well actually before I was in nappies in fact, and it's exciting to carry that on. Whether it's booking a ferry ticket for your horse to go to a competition in Europe or booking a charter aircraft to the other side of the world, we're here to support you. I'm just going to try and set the scene quickly, and I'm sorry if you've already seen it, of a short video just giving you an idea of how it all works. So we're here at Liège Airport at the Horse Inn for the first flight of the World Equestrian Games in Tryon. They arrive here, we take all their equipment off and check their papers, then show them to their stables. So they have a nice quiet evening to relax before the whole operation starts in the morning. We start at 5 o'clock with a briefing for all the attendants who are flying on the aircraft, and that includes some Federation vets, and start loading at 5:30 into the horse stalls. We've got 67 horses on this flight, consisting of endurance and reining. This is the first of 10 operations. We've got a total of just about 500 horses going from Liège to Tryon, so it's quite a logistical undertaking. Generally, we try to have 2 of our own Peden professional grooms on there, and they're very experienced in flights. They're flying all the time with horses, so they know how the aircraft operates, how horses travel. And then we've got some selected NF or National Federation grooms that go, and also some Federation vets. So there's always a vet on the flight, but it's very much a team spirit when we're flying. The competition doesn't start until they get to the venue.
I've been selected from the team to be with the horses. It is a long journey, and for the people that is going with the horses, a big responsibility, but it's okay. You must try to feed and give as much water as they want.
The planes we're using are Emirates B777 freighters, so it's, in effect it's a tube with no seats in it, and we load the horse stalls into those. And then up at the front of the aircraft there are seats where the grooms can sit. They get access during the flight to check the feed and water the horses, make sure they're comfortable. The temperature's kept constantly around between 14 and 17 degrees because obviously with horses inside a metal box the heat is quite high, so we try to keep the temperature quite cool.
We expect our flight from Liège to Greenville to be about 9 hours and 20 minutes today. Emirates regularly carries horses on our freighter flights, and we take good care to ensure the comfort of our precious cargo on board during the flight. From a technical point of view, there isn't any significant changes. However, during the flight we carry additional personnel to look after the horses. It's an honor and a pleasure to be part of this experience.
Today is the first flight of this huge operation. So it's the World Equestrian Games in USA, so it's really exciting. It's really a huge project that we are working for already weeks ago to prepare and make this as smooth as we can. It's really exciting to be part of this biggest uplift of horses for the FEI World Equestrian Games in the USA.
So, working alongside our clients and stakeholders, we achieve the highest standard of welfare while safeguarding global equine health. We ensure that peak competition fitness is maintained and facilitate international show schedule demands. It would be very easy to compromise this, but there's no point in travelling thousands of miles not to be able to compete, because we need to ensure that it's first-class travel and bespoke service all the way. How big is the global sports horse arena? It's interesting to note the location of major games. These have taken place on all but 2 continents. Approximately 75% of the top-level competition horses that we are moving are based in the EU. An example of this is the New Zealand event team are based here, and the Middle Eastern show jumping teams are also based in Europe. This is to show that it's not every 4 years that we are moving horses to international events. But within 1 year, the circuit of the show jumping, dressage and eventing horses is worldwide. Above is just 1 year of 5-star show jumping events. Nowadays, horses can gain their air miles a lot quicker than most of your average business travellers. So, with all the moving comes a lot of preparation. How long does it take you to prepare for your vacation? Well, imagine doing that for 300 to 800 horses. Their grooms, feed, which changes constantly at the last minute, tons of equipment, often containing complex items that require special permits. The coordination of trying to get all these people, horses and equipment where they need to be at the right time. Not to mention the bureaucracy, health and customs preparations of these high-value animals. And we, of course, need to get them home again afterwards. So, in effect, it's 2 operational movements. Here's just an idea of the various bodies that we're liaising with for months and years before each event. We have to ensure that all the various bodies, both in countries of origin and countries of destination, are coordinated. And it's not just the people on the ground. We have to make the agreements with the most senior people in authorities and ensure that this is translated into practical requirements, so that the enforcers on the ground are working alongside us and not against us. Logistics is about door to door, so our job is not done until the horse has competed at its best and been safely returned home. There are many different stakeholders involved in this, and Pedens is a central part. Pedens are generally the first face that the horses and grooms see, and also the last. So I'm here to follow Tim and talk about Tokyo 20, and hopefully inform you of some of the lesser known and interesting elements of preparing a horse for travel to the other side of the world to compete in the Olympic Games. Peden have a very broad role in Tokyo, not only coordinating the transportation, health, equipment, logistics, pre-export quarantine, but also the stable management in Tokyo. As you saw earlier, we've been working with the authorities for several years, now to get all the logistics in place. Our responsibilities are far-reaching, and any mistake can lead to the loss of an Olympic medal. The stakes are high. Broadly, these are our responsibilities, and I'll touch on these each individually in more detail now. Horses are only permitted to travel internationally if they're accompanied by an export health certificate attesting to the health status of a horse at the moment of travel. There's a fine balance obtaining a protocol that reassures the importing authorities, ensures that we don't spread any pathogens on the Olympic flight or in the Olympic stables, but simultaneously doesn't impact on preparations of these athletes and their demanding schedules. For a level playing field, all horses must, wherever possible, be subject to the same export preparations, no matter their country of origin. There will be strictly enforced pre-export quarantines for 7 days prior to travel to Tokyo, and Pedens will be running one of these in Aachen, Germany, where a vast majority of the national federations will come to. There's also the ability to have your own private quarantine. During this time, their training schedules must be maintained, but, as has been a buzzword today, biosecurity must be maintained as well. So it's not just the horses. In addition, we've always got plenty of equipment. Their suitcases are a whole lot bigger than the ones we take on holiday, and we anticipate we'll be moving approximately 300,000 kilos of equipment, medication and feed. Now, if you just think, that's the equivalent of about 16,000 average suitcases, which is an awful lot. And this needs to be labelled, screened, palletised, and then distributed on arrival in Tokyo. Feed, hay, and medicines, vitally important. The meds are essential because a lot of the vets are used to using their own medication, and they're all subject to very strict import control. Peden coordinate the packing list with the vets and then work hard with the ministry in Japan to ensure that no meds are prohibited that are included in trunks. Probably as important, or if not more important, are feed. Controls are complex and relate to the ingredients, as well as the temperature treatments and the products that they've undergone. All the preparations are done well in advance, so that the teams can, whenever possible, bring the feed and hay products that they need without having to meet extensive bureaucratic requirements at the time of export, when they should be focusing on competition. In Rio, we had approximately 1,000 different types of feed and supplements. So it just gives you an idea of the complexity of all this. It's vital that these equine athletes do not have to change their diet at the time of competition or at travel. Ahead of myself. So, 328 horses from approximately 50 nations on 29 flights. 90% of those horses that will participate will originate from Europe, with a balance from North America and Australasia. The European horses will fly out of Europe, from Liège, which is an excellent facility. North America will be from Chicago and New York, and Australasia from Melbourne. There'll be 2 flights per discipline, with up to 50 horses on each flight, and they're traveling in business class stalls. And if you don't know what that is, that's 2 horses to a container. They can take 3, so business class is 2, or first class is just 1. We carefully brief the pilots because they're also intricate to the safety of the horses. We want to ensure that we have a smooth takeoff and landing. So when you take off on your passenger aircraft, you go up pretty quickly. But we want to have a really gentle climb. And then also, when they hit the runway, or I should say land, is a better way to put it, we want to ensure that they roll out their finish rather than slamming on the brakes. Because the horses aren't really aware, they don't know what's going on, although they do travel immensely well. In fact, probably better than by road, because they haven't got the roundabouts, the bumpy roads, and the bad drivers stopping in front of them. The EU flight will be approximately 18 hours, because we've got to go via Dubai. We don't have rights to go over the Russian countries, unfortunately, or states. There'll be 1 stop in Dubai, just for technical reasons, for refueling and a new crew. And then from the US, it's about 15 hours with a technical stop in Anchorage. So when they arrive at Liège, we want to make sure it's a very calm and relaxing environment, because calmness is key. As soon as you get overexcited and upset, that transmits to the horses, as you all as professionals will know very well. And also, it's a very stressful time for the grooms, the owners, and the riders. Many horses will arrive from our PEQ at Aachen, and we'll have sent all the equipment down in advance so that can be screened and palletized. So it's one less thing to worry about. On arrival at Liège, the horses are shown to their stables. There's very, very good stables, and our professional grooms are on hand to assist everyone as and when they're needed. Loading plans are displayed, and in-flight feed, water, and entertainment is placed in the loading area, ready for the next stage. So then the excitement begins, the loading onto the aircraft. We'll start loading the horses about 4 hours prior to scheduled departure time. There'll be a briefing, as you've already seen. I'm just repeating really what you've seen already, I apologise. There'll be a briefing before that loading starts, and we'll run through the loading plan. Our professional flying grooms will escort the horses and grooms to the stalls and assist where required. There's always one of those horses that doesn't want to go. And we need to ensure that we allow the time for that horse, because it has to be, again, calm. Sometimes we have to sedate them slightly just to ease them in, but there's no beating, there's no unpleasant experiences or anything like that. The owners or the grooms are always present, and we make sure that they do happily load. In flight. Some people prefer flying with horses than they do on passenger aircraft, even in business class, which I find slightly bizarre. But horses are on the main deck with the equipment in the belly below. During flight, the grooms and vets are able to regularly check the horses, ensuring that their needs are met in their business class stalls. We try to ensure that the horses are able to get their heads down to assist with the clearing of the sinuses, and in-flight meals are prepared and served throughout as required. There's onboard emergency kit. We have a vet on board, or a number of vets, and they've got the ability to treat as and when necessary. On arrival in Tokyo, we've got a Peden team there ready to execute the arrangements in Haneda and Narita airports. We'll have nighttime arrival and departures, as that's the quietest time for all the operations to happen. Bear in mind, there's no airport in the world that's been built for horses, so it's a very alien environment. The Japanese MAF, or ministry, will check the horses when they arrive, and they'll be directly transferred from the aircraft into the JRA, the Japanese Racing Association's trucks. All customs and health and bureaucratic formalities were pre-completed to ensure that there's very little delay. The horses travel in a convoy under security to the venue, and the equipment and feed forms part of that convoy, because we want to make sure that nothing gets separated. There are 4 horses in the trucks, per truck, so there are quite a lot of trucks, and they're rear loaded. So that's another slightly alien aspect for the horses, because they're either used to be loaded herringbone here or forward facing. But these horses are forward facing, loaded from the rear. Sounds strange, but that's the way they do it in Japan, and it works very well. We've done it for many years. The formal vet checks are completed the next morning once the horse is arrested. The transfer from the airport to the venue, Bajikoen, is about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic. Tim's already stolen my thunder on the venue, but I'm going to have a quick go on it as well. So, as he said, 1964 it was built for, and so it was exciting to see how it's changed, and very interesting to see the previous pictures. On arrival in Bajikoen, our team of Peden stable managers, alongside the dedicated team of volunteers, will show the horses and grooms to their new accommodation. Meanwhile, we've still got about 300,000 kilos of equipment to distribute, quietly and efficiently. And these have to be delivered into the stables where the horses are. This needs to be seamless. No one wants to be waiting for that water bucket for too long. If only that were it. We don't finish there. Someone had the fine idea of moving the horses to a cross-country, as Tim said, located at Sea Forest. Just 30 k's from Bajikoen, but can take up to about an hour with traffic. After the dressage has been completed, we'll load about 20 horse boxes and copious amounts of equipment, grooms and key team officials for the transfer the day before. To add to that challenge, we're driving past, as Tim says, the Olympic rowing venue. And funnily enough, they're having competition when we're doing it. And of course, when we finish the cross-country, we've got to get them all back again. So they'll be tired, grumpy, or hopefully happy. And we need to make sure that is done as seamlessly as possible, because the next day they're competing again. Wow, we've done it. But we haven't. We've got to get them all home again. All the planning that's been completed to get the horses to Japan must also be done for the return. Horses must adhere to exact and same requirements to travel home, so new health certificates and many other documents must be issued. This is essentially a new movement for us. All logistics for these must be planned in great detail. Fortunately, we've got stables at one of the JRA local training facilities that we can use if any horses are unable to travel due to injury. So in summary, before I get my red card, our global equine athletes really are true globetrotters. Planning and preparation is key to facilitate new destinations and a truly international competition schedule. Health, transport and logistic challenges must be overcome with extensive detailed planning. And commitment by all stakeholders to prioritise the horse will ensure top sport and competition, even in the face of demanding travel, will continue forever. Thank you very much.